A skeptic looks at the world with clear eyes. They don't buy into fairy tales, don't trust big promises, and hate wasting time on empty rituals. When it comes to business plans, they wince. Why spend months on a document that's likely to be outdated the moment it's finished? Business plans are a myth, skeptics say, and I'd agree. So how does a skeptic build a strategy without chasing illusions? Let's dive into how they carve a path to success, skipping the fluff and focusing on what works. Picture this. You want to open a coffee shop. You sit down at your laptop, pull up a business plan template from the internet. It's packed with tables, calculations, and projections for the next 5 years. You spend weeks figuring out how many lattes you'll sell in 2028. But then, a month later, your supplier hikes coffee bean prices, the bar next door starts selling cheaper brews, and the city goes into lockdown. Your plan ends up in the trash. A skeptic knows the future is unpredictable. Trying to guess what'll happen a year from now is like reading tea leaves, without the tea. My friend Max once decided to open a small clothing store. He showed me a 50-page business plan, complete with graphs, calculations, and even predictions about fashion trends. I asked, "Max, have you found a supplier yet?" He hesitated. "Rented a space." Silence. He'd spent 3 months on the plan, but hadn't taken a single step. A skeptic would have done it differently. They'd start small. Find a supplier, rent a corner in a mall, run an ad on social media. No plan, no stacks of paper, just action that gets results. Skeptics don't believe in perfect formulas for success. They know the world is chaotic, and business isn't a chess game where you can map out 10 moves ahead. It's more like poker, where intuition, observation, and quick strategy shifts matter most. Instead of writing a 100-page plan, a skeptic bets on flexibility. They try, fail, learn, and try again. That doesn't mean they act recklessly. They just don't waste time on the illusion of control. Take this guy Alex, who dreamed of opening a gym. Everyone told him he needed a business plan. He listened. He hired a consultant, paid a fortune for a slick document with colorful charts. The plan had everything: the number of treadmills, the client forecast. But when the gym opened, reality hit hard. Customers didn't show up because a competitor nearby had better hours. The plan didn't help. Alex shut down in 6 months. A skeptic would have done it differently. They'd have rented a small space, set up a few weights, and started with a handful of clients. If it worked, they'd scale up. If not, they'd lose next to nothing. A skeptic builds their strategy on real data, not daydreams. They ask simple questions. What can I do right now? What do I need to start? What's the smallest step that gets results? It's like building a house. You don't sketch a palace. You lay one brick and see if it holds. If it does, you lay another. If not, you try a different foundation.
My friend Kate wanted to start an online jewelry store. She didn't write a business plan. Instead, she made a simple social media page, posted photos of her work, and spent $100 on ads. In a week, she got 5 orders. That told her there was demand. She invested another $200 in ads, hired an assistant, and started looking for suppliers. 6 months later, her store was making steady money. Kate didn't guess how much she'd earn in 3 years. She just took a step, checked if it worked, and took another. Skeptics don't trust long-term forecasts because the world changes too fast. Tech gets outdated, competitors pop up out of nowhere, customers shift tastes. Remember how everyone wrote business plans for video rental stores in the 2000s? Where are those stores now? Netflix and YouTube ate them alive. A skeptic wouldn't have bet on video rentals. They'd have noticed people streaming movies online and tried something in that space, not with a 10-year plan, but with a small experiment. That doesn't mean skeptics don't plan at all. They just plan differently. Their strategy isn't a fat folder of numbers. It's a set of hypotheses to test. They think, if I do X, I'll probably get Y. Then they do X and see what happens. It's like a science experiment, but with business instead of test tubes. Want to open a bakery? A skeptic doesn't write a 100-page plan. They bake a dozen loaves, sell them at a local market, and see if they sell out. If they do, they keep going. If not, they try something else. Skeptics love action over overthinking. They know the best way to test an idea is to try it. When my buddy Dan decided to start a food delivery service, he didn't write a plan. He bought a couple of insulated bags, partnered with a local cafe, and started delivering on his beat-up Ford. A month in, he realized pizza orders were outpacing sushi. He focused on pizza, hired couriers, and a year later had his own kitchen. No Excel spreadsheets needed. Business plans often trick you into thinking you can predict everything. A skeptic knows that's a lie. You can't foresee a competitor slashing prices or a new law banning your product. Instead of guessing, a skeptic prepares for surprises. They keep cash for emergencies. They don't bet everything on one idea. They test multiple options so they're not left empty-handed if one fails. Look at the big players. Amazon, Google, Tesla. They didn't succeed by sticking to rigid business plans. They experimented, failed, pivoted. Amazon started as a bookstore. Now it sells everything and launches rockets. Elon Musk didn't write a 100-page plan for Tesla. He just wanted to build an electric car that wasn't ugly. He made a prototype, showed it to the world, and kept going. A skeptic works the same way. Do, test, improve. So why are business plans so popular if they don't work? They give a false sense of security. People crave the illusion of control. Write a plan, and it feels like you've got everything figured out. A skeptic knows that's nonsense. Real control comes from adapting fast. When my friend Oleg opened a bar, he didn't expect road construction to block access 3 months later, scaring off customers. His plan didn't predict that, but Oleg didn't panic. He started delivering cocktails and hosting takeout parties. The bar survived because he was ready for the unexpected. Skeptics don't waste time on forecasts that won't come true. They focus on what they can test now. Want to open a restaurant? Don't write a plan. Rent a small space, create a 10-item menu, invite friends for a tasting. If they love it, invite more people. If not, tweak the recipes. It's faster, cheaper, and more honest than drawing growth charts.
Another trap of business plans is they make you believe in success. You write that you'll make $1 million in a year, and you start believing it. Then reality smacks you. A skeptic doesn't buy into fairy tales. They know success isn't guaranteed. They're ready to fail and aren't afraid of it. If an idea flops, they try another. It's like a video game. Lose a level, start over, but smarter. My friend Lena wanted to open a dance school. She wrote a business plan, spent a month on it, then 6 months hunting for the perfect space. In the end, she ran out of money and the idea died. A skeptic would have started small, rented a studio for an hour, gathered 10 people, taught a couple of classes. If it worked, they'd keep going. If not, they'd lose a couple $100, not half a year. A skeptic builds strategy on facts, not dreams. They don't write how much they'll earn in 5 years. They count how much money they have now and what it can buy. They don't guess what'll be popular next year. They see what people buy today. They don't waste time on flashy investor presentations. They make a product that speaks for itself. But a skeptic isn't a cynic. They don't think every idea is doomed. They just don't trust empty promises. They believe in actions that deliver results. When I started my own small business selling funny t-shirts, I didn't have a plan. I printed 10 shirts, posted photos online, sold them in 3 days. Then I printed 20 more, then 100. A year later, I was renting an office and hiring a designer. Each step was an experiment. If the shirts didn't sell, I'd have tried something else. A skeptic knows business is about people, not plans. Customers don't read your spreadsheets. They don't care about your forecasts. They want a product that solves their problem. A skeptic focuses on that. Make something people need and make it fast. If it doesn't work, they pivot. If it does, they scale. Here's another example. My friend Anna dreamed of opening a flower shop. She spent 2 months on a business plan, calculating bouquet sales, wedding gigs, even seasonality. But when she opened, she found people in her area preferred cheap supermarket roses. The plan failed. A skeptic would have started small, bought a dozen bouquets, set up at a market, seen what sold. If roses, they'd stock more roses. If orchids, they'd switch to those. No time wasted on calculations, just testing demand. A skeptic gets that business isn't about predictions. It's about adaptation. They don't try to guess next year's trends. They look at what works today and double down. It's like surfing. You can't predict every wave, but you can learn to ride them. When my friend Igor opened a car wash, he didn't write a plan. He rented one bay, hired two guys, and started washing cars. A month in, he saw customers wanted polishing, not just washing. He added the service, and business boomed. No forecasts, just spotting what people wanted and delivering. Another skeptic's strength: they're not afraid to say no. Business plans often trap you into sticking with one idea because you've invested so much time in it. A skeptic doesn't cling. If their cafe isn't profitable, they don't chase the dream of the best cafe in town. They shut it down and try something new. That's not weakness, it's strength. Knowing when to quit saves time and money.
Think about Nokia. They wrote business plans, made forecasts, but missed how the iPhone changed the game. A skeptic would have seen it. They'd have noticed people wanted touchscreens and built a prototype in 3 months, not a 10-year plan. Business plans pull you into dreams. Skeptics stay grounded. Skeptics don't waste energy trying to look cool for investors. They know investors don't buy plans, they buy results. Instead of crafting pretty slides, they build a working product. My friend Artem wanted to start a grocery delivery startup. He didn't write a plan for investors. He took $1,000, built a basic app, hired 2 couriers, and started delivering veggies in his neighborhood. 3 months later, he had 100 regular customers. When he approached investors, he showed numbers, not a plan. They funded him on the spot. A skeptic gets that time is the most valuable resource. While others write plans, they act. While others guess, they test. While others fear mistakes, they use them to get better. Their strategy isn't a document, it's a process. They set small goals, test them, adjust. It's like hiking through a forest. You don't draw a map beforehand, you watch your step and pick a path. Let's dig deeper. Why do business plans fail so often? They're built on guesses. You guess customers will buy, you guess competitors won't shake things up, you guess the economy will stay stable. A skeptic doesn't guess, they test. They don't write that their coffee shop will get 100 customers a day. They open for 1 day and count who shows up. If it's 10, they figure out how to get 10 more. If it's 0, they change the location or menu. My friend Nastia wanted to start English classes. She spent a month on a business plan, outlining how she'd teach 100 students a year. But when she started, she found people wanted conversation practice, not grammar. The plan didn't account for that. A skeptic would have taught one class, asked students what they needed, and built the course around that. They don't waste time on assumptions, they gather facts. Skeptics know business isn't just about money, it's about people. Customers, employees, partners, they're all unpredictable. You can't plan how they'll act. My friend Vlad opened a small barber shop. His business plan promised crowds, but a month in, he realized people came for the vibe, not just haircuts. They wanted coffee, music, conversation. Vlad ditched extra chairs, added a coffee machine, and played rock tunes. Customers poured in. The plan didn't predict that, but Vlad saw what worked and leaned into it. Skeptics aren't afraid to be honest with themselves. They don't kid themselves that everything will go as planned. They know the world is chaos, and business is about finding your path through it. They don't write long plans because they know those won't help when the market crashes or a supplier vanishes. Instead, they keep their eyes open, ears sharp, and hands ready to work. Another example. My neighbor Julia decided to sew kids' clothes. She didn't write a business plan. She made 10 onesies, posted them on social media, and asked friends to share. In a week, she sold out. Then she made 20 more, added hats. A year later, she had a workshop and 3 seamstresses. Julia didn't guess what she'd earn in 5 years. She sewed, sold, listened to what moms wanted, and kept sewing. That's the skeptic's way. Do, test, improve.
Skeptics also get that not all ideas are equal. Business plans often make you fall in love with your idea. Even if it's a dud, you spent so much time on the plan, you don't want to admit it's flawed. A skeptic doesn't fall in love, they test. If the idea doesn't fly, they don't spend years giving it a chance. They move on. It's like dating. You don't cling to someone who's not right, You keep looking. Take my friend Mike. He wanted to open a shawarma stand. He wrote a plan, projecting 1,000 sales a month. 2 months in, he realized the location was bad. Nobody came. The plan said keep going, but Mike closed shop and started a delivery service. 6 months later, he was earning more than he'd planned. A skeptic doesn't waste time on dead ideas. Skeptics know business isn't about perfection. It's about movement. You don't wait for the perfect product, moment, or market. You start with what you have and improve as you go. When my brother started selling homemade soap, he didn't write a plan. He made 10 bars, gave them to friends, asked what they liked. Then he made more, tweaked the recipe, and started selling. A year later, his soap was in 10 stores. No plan, just results. Here's the thing. Skeptics aren't against planning altogether. They're against pointless paper. They plan, but it's short and practical. Their plan is a to-do list for the week. Call a supplier, run an ad, talk to 5 customers. It's not a 100-page document, it's notes on a sticky pad. It keeps them moving, not stuck in dreams. Skeptics also learn to listen to the market. They don't build businesses on their own fantasies, but on what people need. My friend Olga wanted to open a bakery. She could have written a plan projecting sales of $100 cakes. Instead, she baked a dozen cupcakes, sold them to colleagues, and asked, "What did you like?" They said, "Tasty, but we want gluten-free." Olga added gluten-free recipes, and sales took off. She didn't guess, she listened. Skeptics know money loves speed. While you're writing a plan, someone else is selling. When my friend Mikita decided to start a healthy food delivery service, he didn't write a plan. He made 10 lunchboxes, offered them to friends, and got feedback. A week later, he had 20 orders. A month later, 100. He didn't wait for perfection. He started small and grew with demand. Another skeptic trait, they're not afraid to copy. Business plans often push you to think your idea must be unique. A skeptic knows uniqueness is overrated. If someone's doing something well, they study it and do it better. My friend Dasha saw that board game cafes were popular in her town. She didn't reinvent the wheel. She opened her own cafe, added more games, and made the space cozier. Customers came because she gave them what they already loved, but better. Skeptics get that business isn't about big budgets. It's about using what you have. When my neighbor Pete decided to start a bike repair shop, he had little cash. He didn't write a plan or chase investors. He bought a used tool set, rented a garage corner, and started fixing neighbors' bikes. 6 months later, he had a proper workshop and an assistant. He didn't wait for $1 million, he started with 1,000.
Skeptics aren't shy about asking questions. They don't hesitate to ask customers what they want. They're not afraid to call competitors and learn how they operate. They don't mind seeking advice from those who've walked the path. My friend Stan wanted to open a pub. He didn't write a plan. He went to a nearby pub, ordered a beer, and chatted with the bartender. The bartender said customers loved live music on Fridays. Stan noted it, added live music to his pub, and packed the place every week. Skeptics know business isn't about heroism, it's about consistency. You don't make one big leap and become a millionaire. You take small steps every day. My friend Masha started selling homemade jam. She didn't dream of supermarket chains. She made 5 jars, sold them at a fair, then 10, then 20. 2 years later, her jam was in local stores. She didn't plan it out, she just kept moving. Skeptics also get that business isn't about being the smartest, it's about being the fastest. While others analyze the market, they're selling. My friend Greg wanted to start a hot dog stand. He didn't study street food trends. He bought a cart, made 10 hot dogs, and set up near a subway station. By evening, he'd sold out. The next day, he made more. A month later, he had a line. He didn't wait for the perfect recipe, he just started. Skeptics don't mind starting small. They know big companies grow from tiny steps. When my friend Kostya decided to make wooden toys, he didn't write a plan. He crafted 5 toy cars, showed them at a local fair, and took orders. Then he made 10 more, then 20. A year later, he had a workshop. He didn't aim for a global market. He just did what worked. Skeptics also know business isn't about ego. You're not proving how great you are. You're solving people's problems. My friend Ira wanted to open a yoga studio. She didn't write a plan to be the best studio in town. She rented a small space, gathered 5 people, and asked what they needed. They wanted morning classes. Ira added them, and her group grew. She didn't chase fame. She gave people what they wanted.
One more thing. Skeptics aren't afraid to learn. They know they don't know everything. They're ready to read, ask, and try. My friend Pasha wanted to start an online electronics store. He didn't write a plan. He bought 10 chargers, sold them on social media, and asked buyers what else they needed. They said headphones. He added headphones, then speakers, then smartwatches. He didn't invent the market. He learned from customers. Here's the paradox. Skeptics who ditch business plans often outshine those who write them. They don't waste time on paper. They spend it on action. They don't fear mistakes because each one's a lesson. They don't wait for the perfect moment because they know it doesn't exist. They just start and see where it leads. So how does a skeptic build a strategy? They set small goals and test them in the real world. They don't dream of billions. They focus on earning the first 10 grand. They don't plan 5 years ahead. They plan for the week. They don't fear failure because they know it's just a step toward success. Most importantly, they don't believe in myths. They believe in reality. If you want to start a business, forget business plans. Grab a piece of paper, write down 3 things you can do right now and do them. Talk to customers, test a product, run an ad. Don't guess what'll happen in a year. Take a step and see where it takes you. That's the skeptic strategy. No illusions, no extra words, just action and results.